leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Black Box Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. is an AI-powered call automation platform built for freight brokers, designed to screen every inbound call in real time, block spoofing, phishing, and double brokering scams, verify compliance through integrations with FMCSA, Highway, and My Carrier Portal, and automatically connect brokers with qualified, vetted carriers, all before a human ever picks up the phone. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Happy Thursday.
Matt Dawg, happy Thursday. How's it going?
Good. I'm not going to say that it's been a while since we've done a Thursday show because you always say that I say that. So,
hey man, we're new intro, I guess. How about it? How's your week been?
Good, man. Good. It's gorgeous out here. It hasn't rained in a while. I still think it's weird that it rains more in Chattanooga than it rains in Seattle. But
I'm still going to need to fact check that. I'm not entirely certain that that's true, but it's good to see that you're still in the U.S. and that you haven't gone to to another country. It's good to have USA Matt for a while.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm enjoying Chattanooga. Well, shout out to our sponsors, Black Box Logistics. Not quite sure who they are, but we have had them as a sponsor for a while.
All right, real quick, Black Box Logistics, the People's Choice 3PL. And I do have to say real quick before we go on to all the other sponsors, the second place runner-up, KCH, is making a push. They've started sending merch to everybody to try to overtake us in the standings, but Black Box is still leading by a wide margin. So, yeah, Black Box Logistics, People's Choice 3PL, based out of Birmingham, Alabama. I'll let you take HT there.
HT Ships, if you're looking to be a freight agent, love to chat with you. We are a 3PL as well. Happy pre-Friday to Alexander in the comments as well.
He's a guy.
He's what?
He's a Black Box guy. He's carrier sales for my ops team.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sales Dash CRM, freight specific CRM. They've been a sponsor of the show since before we even went live. We just announced we were going to do the show. So about a year and a half. We have agents that use it. Will's company uses it. Yeah. And then our main sponsor, TAF's top 10 factoring company. They're, really been involved in a lot of stuff lately. I know Will and I have met them both in person. Same thing with Josh. Top 10 factoring company, great rates. They have customer service open until 12 p.m. So, yeah, if you're looking for factoring, you're definitely someone to reach out to.
Yeah, and I will say about TAFs, even if you're not looking to make a change, their website contains a lot of just great educational content. Those guys are really good about simply caring for the industry, putting out good information. So if you're looking to learn some stuff, check out their website. It's a lot of good stuff. And then, yeah, just to echo what Matt said, Sales Dash CRM, we use it and we love it. Well, yeah, man, I'm pumped about the show this week. So this is kind of a first for us, because usually we bring a guest on and either I somewhat know them or you somewhat know them. Paul, I don't think either one of us had met him prior to pre-show backstage, but I made a post today, and it seems like he's all over my LinkedIn the past 2-3 weeks, and all the posts are, like what I would consider freight wisdom, a lot of good stuff about pricing, account management, and Paul's an enterprise shipper, so it'll be great to have him on and hear his takes on all things freight.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious too what his kind of takes are on how things have kind of changed. He's obviously been in the game a long time, just from a sales perspective, from a 3PL, from a pricing perspective, from even a shipper perspective in terms of the technology, and all those hot topics. I'm sure there's a lot of different things we can dive into, so it should be good.
100%. And he's also the host of the Let's Ride podcast. So we'll go ahead and bring him on stage. Paul, thanks for joining us.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing good. Happy Thursday. Thanks for coming on.
And for those that don't know, yes, this will be like the first 2 minutes of conversation between us, respectively. So we're getting to know each other in front of people. So this will be interesting. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's also not recorded. It's live. Makes it even better.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just starting off, like, for Will and I, and obviously for the viewers, maybe just kind of give us kind of a brief background of how you got into transportation, maybe kind of your career journey.
Yeah, so I think like most, I've been around freight logistics since 2008, completely by chance. I think that's what I hear from at least half of my peers that I've been with in this industry for a long time. I was in a marketing class in college, and the owner of our company happened to go in and just talk a little bit about his company. I didn't do any internships. I had no real plan, and he gave out his business card to everybody. And, I got into that summer, blew through all the graduation money that I got. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm going to probably need a job at some point. And so I was kind of cleaning out my desk and stumbled upon his business card. He tells me to come in the next day. He's like, hey, you want to be in customer service or you want to be in transportation? In my mind, I'm like, okay, customer service is like getting yelled at on the phone, and like that doesn't sound that interesting. Transportation, I've never heard of it, don't know what it is, but it's like, give me the mystery box over what I think customer service is. So literally that's the story. I get into transportation and I literally haven't left since.
That's a common theme. It seems like everybody that we have on the show, for the most part, it's like, I got into logistics, never left. And like nobody ever really, I guess sometimes people do plan on it, but for the most part, it just kind of happens. I know that's my story. I didn't know anything about freight transportation or logistics, right? I went into a job interview for a Roadrunner company. My friend was the branch manager, if you will, and I thought it was finance. And then I got in there, they were talking about trucks. I was 18, confused, but I didn't know what I was going to do, you know. So I was like, yeah, I'll come kick it here for a little while and see what happens. And I don't want to get off track, but pre-show, Matt was talking about how Tennessee has more rain than Washington. This has been confirmed, but Alabama is actually ranked 4th.
I was talking about Chattanooga, actually, specifically, not Tennessee as a state. But that,
yeah, I don't mean to get us off track.
I am curious, Paul, because I know we probably have a lot of listeners. I mean, I guess technically, if you were born in 2008, well, you'd be 2008. Yeah, I mean, you'd be 18, 17, able to work. But I don't think there's too many brokers out there 17, 18 right now. But there are probably a lot of them in their 20s who are still in elementary school, junior high. Like, how was it like kind of back in 2008 for maybe some of our younger listeners, and maybe just from like how things were done from a technical standpoint, even from a sales standpoint? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, first of all, you're making me sound really old, so thanks for that. But basically, I would say the one thing that I noticed more than anything is, and I'll pick on myself, right? Like, I come from like a mid-tier university, nothing particularly special about it, I don't think. And it just seemed like the people that I was working with, the suppliers, the carriers that I were working with, like none of us were particularly good academically. We were just kind of like floating around into this space. And the big shift that I've seen in like the last, I'm going to say 5, 6, 7 years is people coming into this industry very deliberately now. So we talked about it being one of like happenstance. People now, like the kids coming out of school that I see, they went to school for supply chain. They went to school for transportation. They're going to these prestigious universities. I'm shocked at the people that are coming in, and this industry as a whole. I think when you want to get into like the digital freight brokerages and all the tech that companies that have emerged in the last couple of years, I think has attracted a lot of really fascinating and interesting and high quality talent that we didn't see even 10, 15 years ago. And so that part is really interesting to me because I'm working with just some really, really bright young minds. And I think we're going to see kind of the fruits of their labor. They're kind of still learning and figuring it out. But once they do, and then they apply their pedigree behind that, I mean, it's going to lead to some really great change. We're already starting to see it happen.
Yeah, no, that's actually a fantastic point and not one that I had really considered. But yeah, I mean, in transportation, there's so much opportunity, right? So it's, what we say a lot of times in our job interviews to people that don't know much about it, like, kind of look around the room, you're like, everything's been on a truck at one point or another. Yeah. It's, one of the very few industries that correlate. I mean, it touches pretty much all industries. And to your point, I mean, yeah, I met a 18-year-old kid that's got a startup Y Combinator backed fleet line, this whole AI dispatching thing, and actually became an angel investor. But yeah, man, they're like crazy smart. And like, even if the company doesn't work out, like that kid is, I mean, it was very impressive. And it was cool to see him like 18 years old, like want to get involved in truck transportation. So no, fully.
Yeah. We're at this interesting like crossroads where you have the old guard, let's say, that's got all the operational expertise. And then you've got these new kids and young professionals coming in that don't have that expertise, but are trying to build tech for the industry that doesn't quite hit correctly, or they're singing too much money in the wrong thing. And so definitely one of the opportunities I see is like an opportunity to mold those things together. I think we're starting to figure that out, but I see a lot of companies where it's just like they're kind of going down the wrong path, because it's great that we're bringing these tech people in that probably come from different industries, but they're trying to solve a problem that they don't truly understand, like to its most granularity that you really need to understand it. And so once they figure out that combination better, I think that's when you're going to see some really great solutions come to the table.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I mean, how obviously we'll probably talk about this, brokerage, sales, outreach, and what you've kind of seen and what's good and bad. I'm sure we'll touch on that, but I'm sure you're getting also a lot of outreach from tech companies. And it sounds like what you're saying makes a massive difference if their leadership or sales rep have actually been brokers, been carriers, been in the seats, not just, coming in from an outside industry, not knowing much about it and claiming that they're going to solve, some of your problems.
I mean, that's the number one thing, right? When I've been in procurement for almost 18 years, you kind of like hone this, I'm going to call it this BS meter, where you just kind of know certain phrases or certain things that are said and know whether somebody can kind of deliver on what they're saying or whether they can't. And I think that's kind of the big opportunities. And sometimes my BS meter may not be perfectly dialed in all the time, but I think a lot of really good, legit procurement professionals have kind of dialed that in to where, if you don't know what you're talking about, like you're kind of going to get called out, and at the very least, it's going to make the sales cycle harder.
Especially, I would think with your sales cycle being an enterprise shipper too, from both the broker and the tech side, it's not like it's a lot longer of a cycle. It's not like they can call you up one day and a week later you implement, this brokerage or that. There's a lot that I imagine that goes into it. So
it's funny you say that, because it used to be so let's go back to 2008, much smaller company at that time. You could literally email me your W-2 and proof of insurance, and I probably would have just set you up in our TMS and we would have been off to the races. That's what I could call when I was calling carriers saying, guys, I need, I'm shipping freight out of Pennsylvania going into Maine, and I couldn't find any trucks. And I made like 10 phone calls, and like maybe 1 or 2 people took my phone call. And I was able to get a truck, but it was really, really difficult. And I just kind of look back on that time and think, like, if those trucking companies remember my company or my name, and now fast forward 10 years, they probably have tried to get in the network, but now it's like, you got to go to the website. There's a very thorough vetting form that you've got, a questionnaire that you've got to fill out. Then you go through our vetting process, then you write, blah, blah, blah. So there's this massive funnel of all these hoops that you now have to jump through. You have to meet these qualifications and all these things. And so you could still get in, but it's become way more difficult versus that guy that maybe took a chance way back when with, I don't know who this shipper is, but let me take a chance. And then they just kind of grabbed our coattails and went for the ride. And, maybe now they're doing millions in business because of it.
Do you have some small carriers and brokers like that who you've been working with all the way back since 2000?
Maybe not that far back, but I definitely have partnerships that are more than 10 years old, for sure.
Yeah.
Probably more than a handful of those.
That's a good point our audience is mainly freight brokers. There's some carriers and some tech people, but for the most part, it's freight brokers, right? And that's a good point for what you're considering. Like, as a broker, your ICP, everybody wants the big name logos, but oftentimes the play really is to find maybe a new and exciting brand and grow with them. Because yes, if hypothetically, if I wanted to get in with your company right now, like slim to none, I'm going to be spinning my wheels. And if I do get in, it's likely extremely competitive. And it's probably not going to be what I want it to be. In order for me to have any load share, I'm probably going to have to sacrifice a whole bunch of other things. Whereas if I find a up and coming brand, I'm good to them, they're good to me, and we build that partnership and I grow alongside them. That's kind of the sustainability, as opposed to, I don't know, man, like new hires, like, I'm going to call like Tesla or Tesla or NASA or something. It's like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. No, we tend to be expert. We're mature organizations with expert buyers, right? Like, we want you to be, these companies to be profitable, but you're going to have to really know what you're going to have everything tight. Your ops have to be tight. Your purchasing has to be everything. Your tech has to be tight versus, like you said, like going to your local grocery store and just start looking at the fine print on the different items there. And you're going to uncover a bunch of companies that maybe they've got shelf space, but it's like, they've got this tiny bit of shelf space that, hey, that could turn into half an aisle one day. You never know, right? And I guarantee you, people are not calling on those people yet I'm getting 300 solicitations a year, right?
Yeah.
Only 300?
At this, that's not including my team, right? So, you add it all together, it's going to be maybe 1,000.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, I'm sure it's. Have you seen the outreach get more? Obviously we're not, we haven't talked about the market conditions, but it's obviously not been a great market the last couple of years. I'm sure outreach has been up, I would imagine, the last couple of years.
It's about the same. What I will say about outreach is that it has not gotten better. In fact, I might argue it's gotten worse. That's one thing that you notice, right? You just read the email solicitations, not really get phone calls as much anymore. But man, it's just like, try a little bit, man. Put in just like a tiny bit of effort. I see vast majority, just a lot of just what seems to be these cookie cutter emails where, they change the subject line a little bit. They put my name, obviously, and sometimes even like my name is in a different color than the body of the email. It's like, okay, clearly you're just not trying at all, right? And so there's these obvious signs that you can see. But yeah, I think outreach has not. There's still a space for that, but very, very few people know how to do it correctly.
Yeah. Well, so I do kind of want to backtrack just a little bit to talk about those up and coming brands, right? And this reminds me of one of your posts that you made of the outreach of kind of coming at it as an advisor. So if I'm thinking about an up and coming brand with this little shelf space, I might have enough experience to kind of close that gap on what they need to be doing logistic wise, as opposed to your company. Like, Paul, if we have a conversation, like, I'm probably not going to have much insight that you don't already know or have figured out. I won't have these, groundbreaking solutions. To be frank, I probably don't offer you more value than, like the next guy. But these other companies, I do my research, I look at maybe some inefficiencies, and I have a real value prop. And I think that's the good stuff. And yeah, you can get customers with the blast, and like it, if you do it enough, like you're going to get a few. But there's a much better way to do this.
100%.
Yeah. Well, let's segue, or go ahead, Matt. You got a question?
No, I was just going to go kind of into the outreach. I'm sure there's some new reps kind of, are there a couple of maybe good examples of just, you kind of gave some examples of some bad ones, but maybe just some, good ones, good outreaches that come into mind that you've, had over the last year or two or your whole career?
It's very rare. It's very rare. Maybe I'm going to say 2 or 3 emails out of 100 actually catch my eye. Right. And so why is that? Like I said, some are just very generic, but you can tell when somebody puts some effort into it. And I know there's different companies that have different philosophies. You have some that are all about quantity over quality, just like, hey, I want to put my shotgun, I want to blast as many as I can and see kind of what comes in, versus somebody that's much more targeted and maybe sends out a fraction of the outreaches, but it's like they've done research on your LinkedIn. They know where you went to school. Maybe they reference a sports program that's doing well, and they mentioned something there. Maybe you have a mutual connection in the industry. Maybe in their interest section, they mentioned, I think on mine, it says something like I coach Little League Baseball. So somebody might reference that. They go to the website and do research on who are our customers, what are our manufacturing capabilities. They go on DAT, and even though it's not explicit, when I have a load on there, you can tell the origin point to the destination point, the commodity, like you can make inferences. So there's so many resources out there that you can do research on to at least demonstrate, guys, I'm trying. Like I spent an hour, 2 hours doing research on your organization. And to your point is understanding, Will, like, can I be of value to your organization? Well, start by don't just ask me, hey, can I be of value to your organization? Look at the public forum and see, can you or not? Maybe you can, maybe we have a mutual customer. Maybe you're already servicing one of my end customers. And so there's a synergy opportunity there, right? Like I'm not seeing that level of work that's being done. And if you took the time to do that, I think you could increase your success rate quite a bit.
Yeah, and if you don't wonder, that's okay. Like it's okay. It's okay to not be the best partner for every customer, right? They do the research and it's like, okay, this doesn't fit like our ideal freight and what we do well. Like I don't need to pursue it. Like let's focus on what we do well. Go ahead.
Yeah. By the way, if you do that research and you don't like what you're seeing, that's fine. Disqualify me. Time is money. It's valuable to all of us. So yeah, by doing the research, you're doing me a favor by not wasting my time. You're also not wasting your own time. So it's a win-win. Right.
Do you think it's somewhat of a training thing? Because it honestly surprises me a bit, because I would think that, some of the top 100 3PLs that are reaching out to you, being an enterprise shipper, I would think they'd put their more seasoned, reps on that account. Because, if you were maybe a shipper ship 1 or 2 times a week, I might understand you get some poor outreach, but it shocks me a little bit. Do you think it's a training, more of a training issue, or I guess kind of what are your...
It's definitely a training issue. It's definitely some of the large carriers out there. I don't think they're necessarily talking to one another very well. Like the best example I can give is like when a company is broken up into, let's say, modes, like this person does brokerage, this one does asset, that one does intermodal. You might have 3 different people from the same company, because technically, you can go into the CRM and claim that, but you're claiming them for that mode, not for that mode. Right. And so I could be hearing from that company multiple times. That happens frequently. But yeah, in general, it doesn't appear as though there's very good training out there. And like I said, I see it all the time, every single day.
Yeah, I'm sure. We get, or at least we get some solicitations, or I get a lot of like text solicitations. A lot of them are very bad. I've got one guy who's been emailing me for the longest time. He keeps calling me the wrong name. I think he's doing it on purpose to get me to respond. Because every time it's like, Bill, John, what the fuck are we doing?
That's weird.
Yeah,
Zoom Info lies a lot of times. I mean, it's funny. Zoom Info still has a phone number of mine from years ago on there, which I'm not complaining about. But I think some people rely too heavily on like one source too, and that's why they end up with wrong names and stuff like that.
Paul, I want to segue into pricing. So one of the posts that I mentioned, or your post in general, caught my attention, but one in particular was about pricing, and it was a great example. And it's one of those what I consider somewhat hard to teach. It's what I would consider tribal knowledge, right? So the example that you had was a city in Arizona or Nevada going to a city in California. It's like, okay, A to B lane, it should cost the same, right? But then no, like let's look at it. Shipment one, appointments both ends, very, very strict, load time, all that good stuff. And it's something that we've been really focused on at Black Box is identifying those factors and our true, what we call our cost to carry. So a lot of times we'll have new reps, and they'll be like, quote this lane. It's like, well, we need information. We can't just, there's so many variables that affect the pricing or even time decay, right? If you have 2 hours to get a truck in versus 6 days, open windows, I think that's the toughest thing to do. Or actually, I don't even want to say toughest, the best thing to do to automate. I don't know your thoughts on that, but automating that and making it tribal to institutional.
There's a lot of things. I'll touch on the automation in a minute. That's like a whole separate topic. But I will say, okay, so the first thing is I had this light bulb moment like 10 years ago where I was trying to explain to a non-transportation executive at our company, okay, we looked at lanes and he said, A and B, why are these prices different? Well, this one's 200 miles, this one's 500 miles. Okay, lanes C and D, why are these ones different? Well, that one's going to Florida, that one's going to Virginia, right? And so we kept going through these iterations, and finally we stumble on this scenario where it was, okay, we've got these loads going to this same 5-digit zip code origin, same 5-digit zip code destination. And in fact, we put in the addresses. They were literally 2 DCs in the exact same business park, and the rates between the two was $400. And he's like, well, explain this to me. So I get the other ones, mileage differences, state differences. These are literally the same origin point to the same business park with a $400 difference. And I was like kind of dumbfounded and speechless because I was like, I don't know. I don't know why that is, right? Yeah. And then we just started peeling back the onion on that. And we were just like, okay, this one is drop unload. This one is live unload. This one takes 4 hours to unload. This one takes 2 hours to unload. This one is driver assist. This one is not, blah, 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 blah. And we start going through and it's like, okay, there's literally 12 different variables here that are impacting the cost to service this lane. And we didn't know any of those things and we weren't measuring those things. And then I was like, well, think about like a general contractor. They don't come into your house and just like look at your kitchen and quote you a price, right? They take measurements of this wall and that wall and they ask you detail. Do you want to cut this wall out? Do you want to use low end tile, high end tile, right? Like freight is no different. Like all 2 lanes are not built the same. You have to have that level of detail. And if a shipper is not providing it, you need to get it. And if you're not asking those questions, then you're exposing yourself to margin compression or worse. Yeah, you could lose money because you get the pricing wrong.
Yeah,
that's a complicated thing to talk about too. It's way different contract freight than spot freight. I'm sure you run into this over the years all the time too, where, like how do you come back on a rate? Should you come back on a rate? What are the situations when the market changes? And you see how different brokerages can handle that. Now that affects, that's a whole nother conversation, but
like you can't bat 1,000. I get that, right? You're going to get your rate wrong sometimes. And sometimes, by the way, the operating dynamics that you assumed when you quoted could have been correct and they could have changed, right? So there's like definitely legit reasons why something should change. But if you just legit didn't ask the right questions, you got it wrong, like that's when you start getting into those conversations and you're basically, I would say 9 times out of the 10, you're basically starting your way out of the network. Like there's very hard to come back. It's not impossible to come back from, but it's like destroying trust to a degree, almost like you're in a relationship and you're like, it's a hard thing to come back from. Not impossible, but I would encourage you to try to avoid it as best as you can. And the best way to do that is to ask educated questions to minimize your exposure to wrong pricing?
I will say, okay, from my perspective, I would almost like tier customers, right? So depending on who it is, if it was you, this enterprise shipper, then yeah, like I'm going to need the information. It's probably not going to be pretty quick. But say my organization, what we do, for example, we work with a lot of small to mid-sized companies, and the speed is more important. And we have an idea of educated guesses, right? And we're going to take our chances, pay to play on the first one. We're going to get the information we can while remaining fast, quick, agile. And then we're going to collect the information on the customer over time. And on the back end, I'm going to tier them 1 through 5. And basically the tier is going to be ease of moving the load, right? And if it's a harder tier, we're going to price accordingly. And we can get really granular with these, like this TARP or this appointment, this or that. But really, I'm just going to tier it with a buffer and on a macro level across a large scale without it being linked to a direct integration. That's worked pretty well. That's how we see it. Sometimes we pay to play, we roll the dice, keep our word. So if we have to take the loss, we're going to take it off the chin and we're going to learn from it. But we see that we get more opportunities by taking that risk and taking it as is than if it's fast and, we hit them with 12 questions when they're trying to give us loads in 3 hours. So with all
you're comparing SMB to enterprise, which is a total different ball game.
Exactly.
And it is difficult. I get that, right? Like you don't want to send anyone over like a 12-point question too. So I know I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth. Obviously, ideally, if you can get them to answer all 12 of those questions, that would be the ideal scenario. I also understand people are running businesses. And that's not always possible. So to your point, you may have to go in and let's say make an investment. Maybe you get it right, maybe you get it wrong, but at least you're collecting data so that you make a better pricing decision next time. The other thing you could do too is you could tell the shipper like, hey, look, because you don't have this information, you can't give it to me. Here's the range of rates. Like if you're this inefficient in your operations, it's going to be on the higher end. If it's, lower, it's going to be here. And over time, this relationship is going to tell me where you land. Oh, and by the way, because I take this approach, I'm now, you talked about, value-added activities. It's like, I'm also educating you on what levers you can pull in your business to improve the cost to service you. So if you actually want me to get on the lower end of this rate, I can't just give that to you, but you can improve your load time. You can do X, Y, Z. You can automate your tendering process, and I can get you to this price that you want to be at to where I'm not sacrificing my margin and I'm getting to a sustainable rate. And at the same time, you're helping them improve their operation.
Yeah, there's usually low-hanging fruit in there too with the things, like you mentioned, when you had maybe you didn't call it like an epiphany, right? 10 years ago, somebody who's not on the transportation side may not realize what is affecting it so much. So it might just be having a candid conversation like, hey, this small thing, this lead time makes a massive difference for us. Or man, we run into a lot with, again, SMBs, how they send over information. It's like, man, just put it in one email, the stuff that we need. We don't need this like long run-on sentence or 6 phone calls. It makes it very hard to do our job. And usually it's just candid conversations and then finding that middle ground and like you're saying, providing value. But really, some people, I guess, wouldn't approach it or think that that's really adding value, but you're helping them by helping yourself.
100%.
There's also the low price thing you see too. I mean, I've seen people with enterprise contracts, go lose money purposely, big companies for 6 months at a time and then flip it around. I mean, that I know Will's talking a lot about SMB, but there's a lot of different things you see when you're talking about contract freight versus, spot SMB, email type of freight. I'm sure that's something you have to look out for too. Like, hey, is this company actually going to honor this rate? It's like, 15% less than everybody else. Like, what is this real? And I have to make that decision internally too.
Yeah. I mean, part of our job is to look at we call it outlier rates and just say, is this legit? Like you said, right? If most of the rates are kind of clustering around a certain area and then you've got one outlier, we don't just ignore it. It could be legit. Maybe they've got the exact perfect backhaul for this or whatever, right? There are unique situations where that is legit, but you have to vet that out first. You should vet that out first because otherwise you are rolling the dice and maybe they'll honor it. And you just say, hey, look, I know they screwed up on the price. I'm going to let them run this at a loss until they tap out and cry uncle, right? But like I said, we're sophisticated enough for the most part to know when we believe that something's been done incorrectly. Either we won't award it or we'll say, hey guys, we may ask some more operationally probing questions to understand how they arrived at that price. Sometimes it's like, hey, you got the operating assumption wrong and that's why it's so much different than everybody else's price, right? So we do try to take advantage of those when it's sustainable and it makes sense in those unique circumstances. But we also know when, hey, we probably should move on.
Especially to imagine with your time and the time that goes into doing a bid and how many people are involved. Like if you just award someone 300 lanes and all of a sudden they tell you a month later, hey, we screwed up. We missed that it was, driver assist or something. And now you got to go rework 300 lanes. And that's, kind of a mess for you guys, I would imagine.
Mess. Huge mess.
Do you guys?
How much do you blame that on the company versus the rep too? Like if some of these scenarios were happening, do you never work with that company again, or do you think if somebody from that company 3 years later reached out but it was new reps, you'd give them a shot, or do you blame that more on?
Man, that happened. You must be reading my inbox. That happens all the time. I think. One, I think you try to avoid that scenario to begin with. And how do you do that? I think as a shipper, it's your job to educate your bidders by giving them as much information about your freight as possible, as much data as you can as possible. The more you can share, the more transparency, the more accurate they can price your business. The other thing too is we really don't bring in that many new suppliers because the incumbents already understand that, right? They understand how to price in, how we operate our business versus a non-incumbent that has to learn those things, which can muddy our data up quite a bit. So we're very, very selective for that reason. So, again, to answer your question about the rep that screws it up, it's not really. I mean, you get one chance and you either screw that has happened before. And then maybe let's say the CEO of the company comes and says, hey guys, sorry, my bad. I'm going to have an executive now be part of this process to kind of oversee and make sure that doesn't happen again. Can we get another chance? Okay, I'll give you another chance. They screw that one up. It's okay, that's it. You're done.
Yeah, that's what happens. I do feel for some reps at, big time companies, because they may have just gotten to logistics 2 years ago, but there are some massive screw ups that I know there's some shippers that will not work with XYZ company because somebody 7 years ago, did something, but you have to see it from the shipper's side too. Like your boss and everybody else, if they, some massive claim or some massive mess up, you have a boss you have to answer to as well,
That's right.
So, what are you seeing from your current vendors, providers that sticks out to you? Maybe some stuff that's not, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but good service, on-time pickup. Are you seeing anything new, flashy that's kind of catching your eye that's making for crazy efficiency or anything like that? Automation, AI, anything along those lines?
Yeah, I think high on-time delivery and high tender acceptance in this market are kind of table stakes. Those used to be points of differentiation. They no longer are. I see those that actually have good, accurate data and know how to surface that data into actionable insights and tell me things about my business that I may not know, and take more of a consultative approach can be helpful. Like I said, we're pretty sophisticated, so we have a pretty good idea, but every once in a while they may surface an opportunity that we weren't aware of. And we love that, right? It's hey, let's go take advantage of that. So that's certainly an area that we see. And then looking for sustainable savings, which is if you have a cost per file, I know everyone says it a little bit different, but what's your cost to transact a shipment? Mm-hmm. Is it $125, $150? And what are you doing, be it AI, tech, streamlining processes, people, to get that cost per file down? Because that's money you can take to the bank, whether it's, a soft market, a tight market. It's you've legitimately created a competitive advantage that's sustainable. That has nothing to do with the market. You're just that much better at transacting the shipment, and we love stuff like that.
Yeah. So for anybody listening, what Paul is describing, interrupt me if I misheard you, but basically, so if brokerage A, for the cost for them to operate, run a shipment through the load cycle, say it's $200 versus company B, it costs them $100, and that $100 difference, I mean, I can bake that into my rates, right? So I can quote $100 less because it's going to take me $100 less to run the shipment through, and that's something that a lot of the bigger companies all know this, but the smaller companies, small to mid-sized brokerages, don't really consider. It's always GPM percentage, revenue, but that's the important stuff.
100%.
But it's good stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you guys seeing much? Because one thing I think is kind of interesting. I'm on the recruiting side, so I have some people, and this is maybe we have some agents I've signed who have some enterprise contract rates too, but a lot of it's more heavily on the SMB, and a lot of the agents, they care what our technology is on the brokerage, but a lot of times they tell me, hey, this is my relationship with the shipper. They don't really, the shipper that they're bringing in with them, they don't really care too much about the tech. And when I was a broker, that was, but I would think maybe at the enterprise level it maybe is a little bit more important than on that as well. Like obviously EDI, API, integrations, things like that. But how much, I guess, being on the level you guys are at, like how deep of a dive do you go into the brokerage's tech, or do you just want to know that their tech works for what you want done? I don't know if my question makes sense.
Yeah, the latter, right? Like I don't need to tell you how to run your business. I just need to see how your efficiency reflects in your pricing.
Yeah.
And if it does that, then I'm happy.
I'd say, yeah, that goes into what we were just talking about, really, like the cost to service a load. If you're integrated, whether it's API or EDI, building the loads, all that good stuff, I'm sure that you can kind of get a feel for, like the sophistication of this company that's soliciting my business. Because again, that's kind of low hanging fruit where we are today.
100%.
I would imagine there's a lot that they just can't service your business just with their technology, because it seems to be the gap. There's a lot of old school brokerages who are not really adapting to technology, and then a lot of newer brokerages or more established that are leveraging it. So it'd be kind of interesting to me how things kind of shape out the next 3 to 5 years. But
yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like, do you have the self-awareness to know whether your organization is even capable of servicing my business because of those reasons? Because if you think about it, if you do get a chance, you're probably only going to get one chance. So make sure that your organization is actually in a position that if you get that chance, you can actually, take advantage of that chance. I've seen way too many that kind of get over their skis, and then before you know it, they're out the door, and you just close the door for a couple of years, maybe forever, right? So you kind of have to be more
the whole team too, right? Not just the broker. I mean, accounting, how they're billing you guys,
everything,
the whole process.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's important to consider for the brokers listening. Talk about getting ahead of your skis. I think that as brokers in nature, like we're in sales, we want the business, we want business, and we want more business, and we want more business. And I think a lot of times people have trouble saying no, or just being very candid of what their capabilities are or what they're good at. And any opportunity is taken as a good opportunity. They're going to grab anything they can, and then they grab something they shouldn't have grabbed, and they mess it up. And you can't trust them again.
You don't necessarily need more business. You need the right business, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that goes back to, again, cost to run a load, all that good stuff. Well, awesome. I mean, we've covered some good ground. Paul, you want to hit us with any freight wisdom that we haven't gone over?
I think you exhausted my freight wisdom for today. I will just say I did put on there my podcast, Let's Ride. It's always awesome to connect with other podcasts. Mine is somewhat freight related. I probably half the people I interview are supply chain people. The other half are not. I've interviewed a custodian at an elementary school. That was one of the best conversations I've had in a long time. I'm interviewing a doctor in a NICU tomorrow, kind of all over the place. But I'm just, for those that are dads or mothers out there, young parents that are probably, have their kid in the back seat that's asking them all kinds of questions that you can kind of partially answer some of, and you can't answer the rest. Like I'm kind of talking to experts that are helping me fill those gaps as I try to navigate, how to teach my 7-year-old how to basically learn things at a faster rate than I did. Like they're going to still make their own mistakes, but if I could give them some insights that help kind of speed their learning curve along and have some fun while I'm doing it, that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I'll check it out. Hey, let's ride. I'll check it.
Baby. Let's ride.
Yeah, we'll
I love
post
the name.
Yeah, we'll post an episode if you missed it, and we'll link your podcast. I'll find it. We'll get the links on there. We'll drive some traffic that way. Paul, man, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a great conversation. I learned a lot. You've been a great guest.
Yeah,
great to meet you guys. Look forward to actually meeting you in person. This is the first meet, but yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah.
Got any conferences planned for this coming year?
I've got a 6-week-old child, so I'm on lockdown for the foreseeable future. But soon enough, I'll be back on the trail.
Sounds good.
Yeah, good luck with the 6-week-old. I know that's a lot, but Paul, we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks again.
All right.
Yeah, thanks again.
All right.
That was good. I enjoyed it. I kept trying to have to remind you, Will, though, he's an enterprise shipper. You're talking about
every time I brought that up, I said S&B versus enterprise. What I do on a day-to-day basis is enterprise, but like most of our audience is probably working S&B. So if he says something from an enterprise perspective, it's not black and white, and everybody doesn't need to take that to like the mom and pop shop. It's all good.
Well, I'm giving our audience it's a little bit more mix. That's where I'm giving our audience a little.
We gave them mixed feedback. We went enterprise, S&B. They got a little bit of everything.
That's fair. All right. Shout out to our sponsors: Black Box Logistics, Will's company, HD Ships, where I recruit agents for. Sales Dash CRM, the GOAT CRM, Freight Specific CRM out there. Obviously, we just spent a whole episode talking about how to reach out to shippers, and some of that goes in there. I mean, you got to be able to keep track of your shipper leads well and organized too. So that's a great thing. And Taft's top 10 factoring company. Cash flow isn't easy in this market, and Taft does a great job. Ryan and Rob, fantastic company. You definitely reach out to them if you're looking for factoring.
Hell yeah! Then shout out to Ashley. I thought my husband was signing me up to drive 18-wheelers. Well, with that, we'll call it a day. We'll have the dog of the week out tomorrow. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be back at it soon.
Sounds good. See you next week.